Hello everyone, thank you for joining. My name is Sara and I'm a Salesforce developer at 4C. That's a company in Belgium, a consulting company in Belgium. And I'm here today to talk about mutation testing in Salesforce. This was my thesis topic, my master thesis topic. It was gamification in mutation testing, but then I noticed that we don't have mutation testing in Salesforce. So it got me wondering exactly why don't we have that? So I just tried it. First, I'm going to explain very shortly what is mutation testing. So that's what you do is you just inject bugs into your source code. And then these faulty copies, these copies with bugs in them, you run tests and you see whether your tests pass or don't pass. If the test passes, then we have a problem. Can anyone think of a reason why there's a problem? Like there's a buggy code and then the test passes. So unless you're really looking into it, if you don't catch it, then it's just straight into production. And this happens a lot when people are partially asserting. So you assert something that is always true. Like for example here, it's just checking if the value was initialized, or you can just have true there, assert true. Or no assertions at all. That also happens. And what we would want is the test to actually fail. We call these buggy copies of that we created mutants. And when the test fails, we say that we killed the mutant. And if it passed, we say the mutant survived. So survived and killed mutants. So this is the definition of mutation testing. I just got it from Wikipedia, which just states it's changes on certain statements and then checking if test cases are able to find the errors. The way I see it, mutation testing is in 4 stages. The first stage is the mutation, which is when you generate all of the mutants. So you add faults into your code. And then there's running the tests. For each of the mutants, you run the test, and then you analyze at the end how many of these mutants did you kill. And this is expressed into a metric called the mutation score, which is just a percentage of how many mutants were killed out of the total number of the mutants. And then you decide whether you're going to make fixes, so you're going to add more test cases, or you can go to production. So the way you generate the mutants is, in this example, I just changed an and into an or. I can also change a smaller value into a bigger equal than, or an equal sign to a different, a not equal. But there's many more ways to do it. One would be adding statements, deleting a statement, or swapping the order of the statements. This is especially useful when let's say you have class A, which is calling a method from class B. You didn't test class B at all, but you noticed that the test for class A is giving 100% coverage for the class B. In this case, you're not actually testing it, so there's no test for it. Removing this would actually, the mutant would survive, so you have a problem. Other ways would be changing a value from true to false, changing a plus sign to a minus or into a division. You could also change variables within the same scope. Let's say you have a magical integer number or a magical double number that will be changed into another number into the same scope, which means if it was integer, the same, it would be another integer, or if it was a double, another double. And then for each of these mutants, you'd run the tests and then analyze it. Let's say your company decided that you need a mutation score of 60%, so you cannot go to production without 60%. If you just killed 2 out of 10 mutants, that's just 20%. And what you need to do is create more test classes or just add test cases to the classes that you already have. This is just an overview of what the deploy process could look like. So it's just developers adding into a sandbox and creating unit tests for the features that they developed. Later on, they also do integration testing. They go into a UA testing sandbox, which is usually where manual testers are testing. And you can also you can go only afterwards into your production org. Mutation testing would be best used immediately after the unit tests, because you already have some tests to check the quality of, and that's the perfect place where you can use it, because the quality of your tests would increase a lot with mutation testing. That means that you have higher chances of finding bugs earlier into the development stages, which means that, yeah, there will be less bugs found by manual testers and production, which is also less costly to fix. So how I did it on Salesforce? First, I just took a mutation testing for Java, because Java is very similar to Apex. It's called Little Darwin. It's written in Python, and what I did is I just added a Django framework to make it available in the web. I host it on Heroku, and all of the mutants that are generated by the tool, I store them. I store all of the mutants that are generated, but unlike in Java, where I can run the code into my computer, with Salesforce, I need to, Apex, it's only compiled into Salesforce. So what I need to do is I need to add these mutants into Salesforce and run the tests there. So the flow that I go through is I start into Salesforce, I choose the class that I want to mutate, that sends a call into Heroku, where mutants are generated, and then they're stored. This creates some records into Salesforce that saves the link into to the mutant. And then one by one, I go through the mutants, and I run the tests. So what I do is my class, I change it into the mutant, I run the test into it, and then I change the class back into what it was, so the original class. I'll just give a small demo. So yeah, the tool that I have at the moment, it just creates 2 records into Salesforce, which is just classes. It saves some information about the class and the original class. Also, for these classes, all of the mutants that the tool has generated. And for the mutants, I have information, for example, what changed into the code and on which line was that. And then what I do to make it easier, I have this view where I have all of the mutants, and I can see here the original, the mutant, and the test that I can update. And then when I click update, I also run it to see whether the update that I just did killed the mutant or not. Okay. That's just a video in case something went wrong. So yeah, what I think is really important about mutation testing is this score that you get at the end. It's really an easy way for a developer, for example, when you're trying to decide which of the tests you need to work more with, or which of the classes are not very well tested. This metric will give you a detailed overview of all of the classes, so you know which one you need to tackle. Also, when you rely on your team to have something tested well, so if you're making a change and then you have to integrate with someone else, with the mutation score, you would know whether other people of the team have tested it well, so you have a higher confidence of your changes merging with theirs. And also, if you're a manager, a team lead, deploy master, anyone who is in charge of the quality of a product, if you're interested into the quality of your tests, the mutation score, it's ideal for that, because the other option would be to have actually developers going through all of the tests and giving you a metric like, yeah, it's good, it's bad, or something in between. But Salesforce is moving towards DX, and it's not like there's a lot of change. it still depends on where are you creating the unit tests. If you're doing it into your Scratch org, still you can do mutation testing into the Scratch org and then have better quality of your tests later into the pipeline. So to conclude, I would just like to remind everyone who is in charge about a project or a product, that having a high quality test suite is actually very valuable and future-proof. And also for the developers, if you want to integrate smoothly with your team, having high quality tests is a very important step. And also if you're a bit annoyed, for example, when you go to a manual tester, and then this ticket just keeps ping-ponging, and then he finds a new bug, and then you need to fix it. This allows you to have higher confidence when you go to them. And if you're not convinced, this beautiful pyramid here is from Martin Fowler. If you don't know him already, I left a link so that you can read more about code quality, not just test quality. And the pyramid just shows that, yeah, the manual tests, the user interface tests, there need to be less of those because they're slow and they cost a lot more compared to automated tests. And what mutation testing does, it just obliges you to make more of automated tests, so more unit tests. Thank you. The tool is still under development, but if you're interested about a demo, you can either scan the QR code, you can go to the link that I left there, or I left some cards for everyone to take. You can contact me anywhere. Happy to share. Happy to talk to you and answer your questions.
That's very good.
Yes. Do you have? Yes, yes.
Thank you so much. Breathtaking. Really short, succinct, but love the concept. Haven't heard it myself in Salesforce so far. 2 questions.
Yes.
Can I basically follow the links and try it out myself? Question 1. Question 2, how does Lightning fit into the picture?
I see, okay. So I'll start with the Lightning one. I based the mutation testing tool into a Java tool, but as far as I know, there's mutation testing tools also for JavaScript. So that is also possible with JavaScript. At the moment, it's a bit difficult because you would have to tell it that, oh yeah, this is a Lightning and this one is an Apex, so that it generates the mutant according to the language. So yeah, it is possible. Since Lightning is JavaScript, it's just reusing probably, because most of the mutation testing tools are open source, so it would be just reusing the one that already exists. And the first question, can you repeat again, please?
It was basically, if I want to do the same as
yes.
you, can I just follow the links, upload it to a Roku, try it out in my developer org, for example? Yeah,
like if you want to do the same that I did, what I did at the beginning was just with the Java, so I just created classes that don't have SQL queries, because that's what's special about Apex compared to Java, and also the strings into 1 quotations or double quotations. So that's how I tested it that it was working. At the moment, I'm just switching from Java to Apex. It's taking a bit longer than it's supposed to, but it will be there very soon. So if you, I don't know about that yet. But if you think that it should be open source, please, there's a survey there, and then let us know, because then my company and I will just consider more, because if people are interested in that way, then it's more useful for us to work that way as well. Thank you. Yeah.
So it wasn't clear to me whether the mutation is introduced manually or does the tool does it for?
Yeah. So what you could do is you can do that manually, but you can automate it. So in this case, it's the tool. Like I just say, this is the class that I want to see, and this is the test. I want to see how good the test that I created for this class is. And then the tool will generate the mutants, it will run the test as well, and then you will get the score at the end. So if you see, I'll just go back. Here, all these 3 steps are automated. Only the last one, which is creating more tests, it's manual.
And it's an unmanaged package that we can install?
Yeah, it will probably be an unmanaged package. But I think the biggest value is just having to, if you could call, it could also just be an API call that you can do and then retrieve the mutants.
Question about those auto-generation of mutants. So what I think would be a very challenging part is not to have not the test code, but the real code, not to throw exceptions because you swap the variable there or did some changes there.
Yeah, so most of the things are just, the safest ones to do is just changing pluses and minuses and then the logicals. So, but if it runs into an exception, that if somebody makes a similar error in the future, that means that it's already caught by the Apex language, so it will raise an exception. Any more questions? Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you.